Hello. Today I have a guest that I've known for quite a while, Sandi Goodman. She is the founder and co-owner of Homeowners Hub, which is a local maintenance home concierge company that helps you look after and maintain your home, increase the value. They look after all the systems and workings of your home, making sure that they are working properly and taking care of your home in all the ways possible: electrical, plumbing, outside, inside mechanicals. I have subscribed to her service because it is so convenient, so helpful. So I'm very happy to welcome Sandi Goodman. Hey, Sandi. So I'm going to start off with, why did you start your business?
Hey, Risha. So it's interesting. I feel like the business found me because it grew out organically out of our pre-existing electrical contracting company that both Monica, who's my wife, and I ran for, many years. And when you're in the home improvement industry, people always ask you, hey, do you know, and fill in the blank, do you know a plumber, roofer, mason, you name it. And of course, we knew a lot of different contractors who we really liked. So one day, the bright idea came to my mind, and is, well, why not just dispatch these guys? Why give you the name of somebody who you may or may not ever connect with or who may or may not ever show up? But they
Yeah.
know me, so they'll go because they know me. And that's exactly how this whole thing started. So we were electricians and we dispatched plumbers and HVAC technicians, which kind of go together.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the beginning. And then we realized this works. And it was like, okay, let's blow the doors off of this baby and work with all trades. We started in 2016, and by 2018, we were just working across all trade silos with every single tradesperson whose skill set, homeowners needed.
Absolutely. I love the convenience of it. As you know, today even I sent you a little text saying, "Hey, I have this issue. Can you send, somebody out?" Because of course I have a subscription. Makes it easy and I don't have to be here. So it's great. Love it.
Yeah, yeah. And we got back to you pretty quick, I think,
Yeah,
and back to
very
schedule.
quick.
So that's the idea. The idea behind it all is it doesn't have to be this hard to take really good care
Yes.
of your house. And a lot of people find it really difficult, and I understand why. There's lots of reasons, from the lack of trade, quality tradespeople is the number one issue primarily, but there are other issues involved as well. We would just want to take those pain points away as much as possible.
What impact do you want to leave with your business?
I think the primary impact is about making sure that you're safe and comfortable in your home. I've always felt that your home should be your sanctuary and not your albatross. And
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people, it's become a very expensive albatross, and it doesn't have to be that. People spend a lot of money to buy homes these days. They're really expensive, and they become a major part of your financial net worth. It's not just a place to, raise your family and sleep and, have fun, but it's actually part of your financial net worth these days because they're so valuable. So we
Yep.
want people to have valuable homes that continue to appreciate, which means that they need to take care of their homes. But above and beyond that, we want to make sure they're really safe and comfortable in them. So that's the impact I really want to make.
Yeah. I love it. So, what is one of your favorite client stories? You got one? I'm sure you hear them because people aren't calling you when things are going well,
No, no,
right?
actually, no, that's very true. This in this particular story, I have many actually, so I was really thinking hard, which one do I want to share? This is a
Okay.
case where no one called us at all.
Oh,
But what the wife did was post on Facebook her sob story.
okay.
I found it online and I reached out to her with a private, message, and I said, "I'm sorry you're going through this, issue, the issue is that they hired a roofing company to replace their existing roof, and the roofing company came in and quoted them well, actually a really high price to do the work, but they accepted the job, which is fine. And then they started the job a couple of days later, and while they were working on the roof, they realized that the subroof, which is usually the plywood, there's plywood
Mm-hmm.
and then there's roofing material. The plywood itself needed to be replaced because it had rotted through. It was an old roof. So the roofing guys started to remove the plywood and they were just throwing, plywood panels off the roof onto the ground. And who shows up? No one other than the building inspector for the
Oh
town,
dear.
who just
Right.
happened to have been like breezing by and realized that a permit was never pulled. They issued an immediate cease order, and the crew had to leave, but they left the roof open,
Oh
thinking
dear.
they were going to return shortly, but it rained for 3 days. So here you have a homeowner without a roof, with rain literally pouring into their house now. Nobody
Jeez.
tarped it. Nobody came back to tarp it.
My
And
goodness.
the wife is literally, crying her heart out online about the situation. I jumped in and tried to steer her in a good direction. Immediately we, realized there could be mold because mold doesn't take long to grow. I
Right.
was kind of surprised that it can happen so quickly, but it actually can happen within a 3-day period of have water being exposed to walls and ceilings and floors and carpets and you name it. So we got her house tested for that, and sure enough, there was some mold that needed to be abated. And then we wound up, the original roofing company came back to finally put the roof on, and they did a really good job, but in the process, they chipped some windows and some window frames got damaged. It was the damage, let's put it this way. We helped to fix all that damage and charged back all the damage to the original roofing installer
Roofing.
because, of the way they handled the whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
no one reached out to us directly, but because I stumbled upon a situation where a homeowner was really struggling and was asking for guidance, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to handle it, I jumped in because I knew what we could do to make things better for them. We were able to resolve, their whole issue, and it didn't cost them any more money really because they just deducted it off of the roofing quote and paid us
Yeah.
the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that people just don't know what they don't know, right?
Right,
And there we
right.
have so many people the coming out from the city who have never owned a home. So they don't know. How would they know?
No,
Right?
I mean, this was a bit of a complicated issue because the roofing company was forced to stop working. It wasn't as if they would have stopped working on their
Right,
own.
but they didn't know about the permit. They
Right.
didn't think, well, we should cover this. They didn't, I mean,
There were
you've
many
never
issues.
owned a home. Right. So, but all of those are issues that you are used to taking care of.
Right.
So you don't think twice about, okay, this has to happen. All of that would never have happened with you because you would have said, we need the permit. We need this. What about that?
Yeah.
Right.
No, I mean,
So,
it might have happened, but it would have taken much longer. Let's put it that way.
right.
So, because we're able to come in and really very, very quickly resolve the problem, it saves
Sure.
them probably more damage that could have occurred. Had the mold not been remediated as quickly, it could have even cost them more to do it. So, yeah,
Right.
in that kind of situation, timing really is crucial.
So that ties into my next question for you, which is the biggest misconception people have about your business because they don't know that you
Right.
could do this. Is that the biggest misconception about your business? What is the biggest?
I think, I mean, I don't know for sure. I haven't asked a lot of people that question, but I suspect they think that we are just a high-end, concierge service that is going to be too expensive for them to take advantage of. That's partly because we don't really maybe explain our service clearly enough. I'm just trying to think, off the top of my head, why there are misconceptions. but there usually are of lots of businesses. But I think we're not really showing people how cost effective, working with this can be. Because if we can save you time, and time is money, and we
Mm-hmm.
can save you heartache and hardship because we actually know how to handle things and you don't have to try to figure it out for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
that all adds up. And so I think we may just need to put more emphasis on how we actually save people money rather than just save them time, because we do focus on the time part a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we need to kind of add in the saving money equation a little bit more effectively. And that
Right.
might, change some hearts and minds. But I think generally speaking, people feel like, we're just out of their league, maybe, you
Hmm.
know, and that's not true. It really isn't true. I mean,
Well, you deal with issues that have to be dealt with when you own a home. A
yeah,
new roof, gutters, plumbing. You talked about your home being a sanctuary, and that is, you and I are on the same page. We've had discussions about this too, about how a home is a sanctuary. People hire me to create beauty and functionality, which is part of your work in their home. You know, when I'm working with clients, I often see that they've made decisions that are like in many different directions without a specific goal or target, right? I could see that happening in your business. Do you see this happening in your business too, where they're making decisions but it's without a specific goal? I guess what I'm saying is that somebody wants to secure the roof, but there's lots of other issues that perhaps.
I mean, we both focus on, different aspects, feeling happy, comfortable, and safe in your home. You
Mhm.
definitely focus way more on the aesthetics, and we do focus more on the systems.
Right.
And it's not unusual, even with
Systems.
people, and you may know people who may fit into this category, where they will more readily spend money on a facelift than making sure that their
Right.
clogged arteries are taken care of. So,
Right.
right? So
Right.
they may look very beautiful, but inside they're dying, literally.
Right.
So we see the same with some of our homeowners where they immediately buy a house and want to make pretty, and I get that, you want your home to be beautiful. But if you have, old uh, pipes or old wiring or an old roof or anything or an old heating system, my goodness, that doesn't get addressed early on, you're going to wind up suffering, either with no heat during the winter time or with water pouring into your house because you have holes in your roof, or, there could be umpteen things that could go wrong because the systems are not in good shape, even though the house might look, really beautiful. So,
Yeah.
the problem is you can't brag about rewiring your house. There are no bragging rights with that. Instead of
Nobody
look at
cares.
my beautiful room
Wiring
and the
in the
furniture
wall.
and, and
Right.
the
Yeah.
interior design and like really, show it off.
Yeah.
There's nothing to show off when you rewire
Yeah.
your house, except that, you saved your house possibly from burning down. That's not a story that anybody really would tell. So,
No. Oh no, no, it's not. But you and I, we work together on projects. I'm a big believer in functionality too. So it's making sure your clients, the functionality is improving and those systems are being upgraded because eventually all those systems fail at some
yes,
point,
yeah,
right? So
totally.
it's used, yeah. So when, we work together, it's you thinking about that. And I think about that too, but making sure all of that is taken care of. And then with me, I'm layering on the beauty, the aesthetics, the
Right.
personality. So when people upgrade their home, it's something I think about, but it's not like, I'm like, yeah, I mean, it would be better to make sure the plumbing is updated, but working together with someone like you, it's like, let's get all the pieces together in a
Yeah,
project.
exactly. And they're both equally important. I mean, I certainly feel that way. I
Oh,
just know that
absolutely.
the tendency for people
Right.
is to focus on just, making pretty and not necessarily ignoring the functionality of their systems, but kind of kicking the can down the road. So,
Right.
I have 10 grand to spend. How am I going to spend it? Am I going to upgrade my heating and central air, which, definitely together could be more than 10 grand? Or am I going to take that 10 grand and just make my, the first floor of my house really beautiful looking so that when people come in and enter, it will be so inviting, and
Right.
so enjoyable.
Yeah.
And so we sometimes are up against that wall, and I totally understand why. So what we did this year, and I might have mentioned this to you previously, I've been trying to get approved to provide financing for our
Okay,
customer
great.
base, and I've been at it for years in the attempt to be approved. And we finally were
Right.
this year with a really great program. So for some people who have like a whole laundry list of things that need to be done and they just don't have the immediate cash, or maybe they don't want to, sell their stock portfolio, or even worse, borrow out of their K or
Right.
IRA, and they're still young, so they could be experiencing a penalty if they don't repay that within a certain period of time. We can provide financing at fairly reasonable pricing,
Oh,
and
that's fantastic.
yeah, a number of people have jumped on that bandwagon since we started, so that's pretty cool.
Great. Yeah, letting people know that, letting your clients know that. As a client, I think you mentioned that to me before,
Yeah.
and I haven't taken advantage of it, but now that you say it again, I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right. You did mention that. You did mention
Yeah,
about the
and sometimes
financing."
people need to hear the same thing a number of times before it
Yeah,
sinks in, right?
right. It's
So
like
that's
I
why
can't hear. Yeah.
I keep
No, it's
repeating
good.
myself, you
No,
know.
but it doesn't sound like a repeat, Sandy, because I now that you said I've heard it, but I'm like I don't feel like you're on repeat because I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta remember that. That's I need to hear that on repeat then.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And so for the larger jobs, whether it be roofing or,
Right.
replacing heating systems or central air systems altogether, it comes in handy because you're
Yes.
talking about thousands of dollars in order
Yeah.
to, handle those types of jobs. So if you
Absolutely.
can pay it off over 24 months or 36 months at a reasonable interest rate, it becomes a doable thing.
Yep. Absolutely. So, what keeps you inspired to continue, Sandy? Why do you keep doing it?
Well, I'm definitely entrepreneurial at heart. So, having a business to run is a big part of it. But why specifically this business goes back to the very first house that Monica and I bought. I grew up in New York City. I grew up in an apartment building, so I didn't
Okay.
live in a house until I bought a house.
You're
So,
one of those people.
one
You're
of
one of
those,
those people. Right.
right? And it was a summer house in Western Jersey. I knew nothing, and when I say knew nothing of living in a house, I knew nothing of living in a house. But Monica grew up in a house, so she had a little bit more, experience and knowledge. And we bought because this is what we could afford. It was like almost 80 years old at the time when we bought it, a summer house in Western Jersey near a lake. And it was not a year-round house. It was
Right.
maybe, 3/4 of the year you could live there. There was no heat.
Summer cottage. Yeah. A
Yeah.
summer cottage.
And
Yeah.
we winterized it. So we were the first people who owned the property that actually lived there all year long. Bud
Okay.
Lake, which was
Love it.
the biggest natural lake in New Jersey, actually, was half a block down the street. So it got cold and windy,
Yeah.
and we got a lot of snow in the wintertime, and it was really freezing because we had electric baseboard heat, which got really expensive, and then we had a fireplace, and that was it. So I learned a lot that first year, about, the systems of the house. Never
Mm-hmm.
mind air conditioning. We didn't need air conditioning. We just needed heat. And then I fell in love with home ownership. I really did. The house was so quaint, and we can't prove this, but we feel like it came with a spirit, a ghost, and which was a very friendly spirit, but nonetheless, we felt
Mm-hmm.
energy in that house from someone who wasn't currently living there. And I realized there was so much to owning a home that really intrigued me, and there's so many things that you could do with it,
Mm-hmm.
because you owned it rather than an apartment where
Mm-hmm.
you had minimal capabilities of making change. You had to get landlord approval or whatever. Here we could do whatever we wanted to do. So we
Fun.
turned it into a really very, very pretty 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom with a new kitchen, new bathrooms. Was on a half-acre property, so we had a really nice backyard. And we were there for 12 years, and I realized I really loved working on it because we did a lot of it ourselves. And that's how I learned about what it takes to take care of a house.
Right.
And like we had a well, we didn't have municipal water, and we didn't have
Septic.
municipal
You,
sewer. We had a septic
yeah.
system, right? So what do I know of that? I mean,
Right.
like
Exactly.
zero. So I found out that our well was really a, a short well, or it wasn't a deep well, let's put it that way. And we literally ran out of water one day. I was in the middle of it having a shower. There was no water.
You find out pretty quickly.
That's how I found out that we didn't have a deep well. It's like, what do I know? So there are lots of funny stories that I could share with you at some point in time about that first house. I mean, it was, like first with everything, it's like really eye-opening. But it made me want to continue to own properties. So that first house led to a much bigger house in Maplewood, and that led to us owning investment properties over the years. And
Fantastic.
and I loved every single one of them.
Oh, I love that. So, what is one thing about yourself that you're working on changing? Like as an entrepreneur?
That's a great question. Well, it's one thing owning a business and running a
Mm-hmm.
business, which I've done now, for quite a while. And it's another thing scaling a business. And as you know, I'm in a mentoring program, a Pinnacle Global Network, which teaches business owners how to create team-led companies and to scale. That is truly the one thing I'm working on right now. And
Wow.
is it easy? No, it's not easy at all. It could be one of the hardest things that anyone ever goes, down the road with. But I'm determined to figure it out. So there are ups and downs. You take a couple of steps forward and then you take a couple of steps backwards. But, you figure it out as you move along what you need to create not just a business for yourself, but something that can really make a significant impact on the lives of thousands, if not more people.
Yeah.
And that is my
It's
mission.
it's a tough road being a business owner,
Hmm.
but very fulfilling and
Yeah.
satisfying,
Yeah,
you
if
know.
if you're entrepreneurially oriented, you've got to want to do this. Otherwise, for a lot of people who are not driven to do this, it becomes too difficult and you won't be able to hang in there long enough to get past the difficult parts,
Yeah.
to get to the point where you're finally smooth sailing.
Right. Yeah. It's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
What would you tell your 20-year-old self?
There's so much you still need to learn when you're 20 that my 20-year-old self might not take this, advice at all. But if I did,
Yeah, tell your 20-year-old self to take advice.
that's right, to take the advice, right? To really be true to yourself,
Okay.
stop worrying so much about what other people think of you or,
Mm.
think you ought to be doing, or pay more attention to what makes you happy, what gives you joy,
Uh-huh.
what lights up your life, what makes you want to keep going full speed ahead instead of what is the right thing to do or, the adult thing to do. Maybe adult is not the right word, but what society says is what is in your best interest may or may not be in your best interest, but you
Right.
probably would have a better feel if you just paid more attention to what, gives you joy, lights you up, and, is heartfelt. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that is a good one because we forget that, especially with this influx of social media
Right,
and
right.
lots of people telling you lots of things. I'm taking
We
that
didn't
to
have
heart
that
today.
level of social media as kids growing up that exists
No.
today. So young kids today are influenced by so many different voices, and it could
Right.
be very confusing because
Yeah.
those voices could be, contradicting each other, and they do contradict each other
Right.
depending upon
And
who you're
I
listening to.
agreed. And I think that you lose your intuition, your own self instinct when there's so many voices coming in, you can't hear your voice.
Yes, that is really true.
So I
And
love
you're so
that.
easily influenced when you're that young, to
Uh-huh.
other people's opinions and wanting to fit in and wanting to be part of a, bigger group of friendship circles.
Yeah.
So sometimes you wind up being steered in a direction that really doesn't, work well for you. And
Mm-hmm.
but that's part of life's learning, experiences too.
Yeah. I love it.
But
Yeah. I'm gonna
that's
use that. I'm gonna use that. I
okay.
need that. I needed to hear
Okay.
that today. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
It's easy to get distracted, with lots of other things.
Being on a path that I feel brings value to the world keeps me motivated.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that. Thank you. Thanks, Sandy, for being here. And if people want
Okay.
to get a hold of you, where should they go? Where's the best place?
Sure. So our website is really the best place to find
Okay.
out about who we are, what we do, and to reach out. And that is www.hubyourhome.com. That's
Right.
HUBYOURHOME.com. And we
And
look
we'll put
forward
that in the
to,
show notes too. So it'll be in
okay.
there and you'll be able to access that from there. And that's the
Yeah.
best way to get hold of Sandy
Yeah. And my,
and her
team.
team. And
Right,
her team.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And we'll be there for you. Just reach out. Not a problem. Thank you, Risha, for inviting me. I'll see ya.